since we.
Face looks thinner.
Thinner, yeah. I lost a little bit of weight too. I've probably got a ring around my head. Huh? Yeah.
It's just pure. No, it's not.
I don't really
It's there,
care.
but you can.
It won't show up on here. All right, we're good. All right, welcome to my presentation. It's on our hybrid app development process from scratch, and I basically want to share with you the process that I used. So to do that, I have two things I'm going to jump out and use. So it is a self-assessment app for office ergonomics. So based on your inputs, it will give you some outputs. And it's building on the concept that I did for the first project. And what I tried to do this week, or last week, since this is a week late, was explore the required tech requirements for it. So I had a lot of discussions last week with Rob around how we do our tutorials and how this information gets presented to us. And I'm not really good with the little chunks of information. I need to see the whole picture, more from a holistic view. So I tried to map out what the app was going to look like and then get in and play around with a lot of the front end stuff before I got to kind of the back end requirements. So I started with paper prototyping, or POP app on the iPhone, and I'm going to show you what that looks like right now. Then I get in and mainly played around a lot with Ionic and dove into Angular a lot. And then I rewrote last week the Node API from Jeff's tutorial because of something I saw in Shona's code on GitHub, where she actually had used this front end and used this back end as two separate projects. And I was like, that's brilliant. Now things were a lot clearer. So that, I had an aha moment when I was trolling around looking at your code. So that was really cool. And now I can think of them in two different buckets. And then got back in and had the Postgres working. And then explored Rob's tutorial on Passport and OAuth, but didn't get that into this app. So to jump back out to the paper prototyping bit, I just wanted to pull up their website. So this is what it looks like. You basically draw, and I said I was going to do a demo on this, so I might as well do it right now. So you draw on a piece of paper what you think your app is going to look like, and then you can make it interactive. So if I want to, click on this measurement and this measurement, because these are basically the only three measurements you need to set someone's office environment up. And then based on the logic that is yet to be computed, it would spit out these data points. So my chair should roughly be at 17 inches measured from my kneecap down. My input device is at 26 inches, and my display, the upper 1/3, this part, should be at 60 inches. So based on that, people could actually set up their environment. So that's what the concept was. And then I jumped back into, I don't even have to go back into the presentation. I'm just going to emulate it here. Back into the app. So the splash screen should work. If all comes up well. And then from there, once we enter the app, so I didn't really finish the welcome screen. It says if I get all the functionality completed, I would come back and do this. But if we click on the middle one, so it was cool. I got to play around with the grid system in Ionic, which allowed me to put an image over on the left and then 3 input boxes on the right, and the add button. And then down here I gave it some parameters so people knew exactly what they were measuring. So that's basically their input, and then when it's completed, this is what it'll do. It'll spit out kind of, for seated environments, this is where all your stuff should be set up. And I also have a domain that I own where I'm going to put this app live called officeergonomics.co. So it'll be kind of a free giveaway for folks that they can play around with. So that is
Are you
pretty
going to
much.
make the graphics how you have them?
No, they were just fill-in graphics. Why, Faye?
Because I like them.
Oh. Well, I may leave them. If you do like them. Oh, my presentation doesn't want to come back on. And also, I played around with a new templating system called Haiku, which I saw someone use last night. So I was like, I'm going to try that. Oh, there it is. I'm going to try that today. It seems pretty cool. It's a little buggy, but it's new. So that was the demo, and then if you have any questions. So Haiku is available on iPad and just on the web. There's no standalone download. But it's cool because it has all the images already there for you. So any questions?
Yeah, so you spoke a little more on your point of I guess your biggest pain from the last couple of weeks was kind of trying to figure out the conceptual separation of the major parts of the project as well. And I guess it kind of fed into your eureka moments. But other than that, were there any other moments of pain or of success that you'd like to share with us from the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think being able to keep that separate in your head helped me out a lot, and that's why I kind of wish that we were solid on the front end development side before jumping into the database side, because it wasn't clear when we made that jump and we were going to start to use that for this project where that stuff should reside and how it was tied together.
Yeah, okay.
Because I didn't really, I did find eventually though a tutorial that did build everything all at once, which helped. But doing the piecemeal stuff, it didn't really help me. That's not how I learn. I need to see what this thing's going to look like big picture wise, and then what are the processes of building each component of that. So once I got that straight, it was like, oh, things were much clearer. And the Angular stuff helped. There's that Angular in 60 minutes or whatever. That helped because once I went through that presentation, he had a flow chart of what Angular was doing and all the boxes, and I was like, oh. So it was another moment of clarity. So there was a lot of breakthroughs. I think not getting stuff to work helped me learn a lot better because I had to go dig and read more documentation and look at more tutorials and stuff like that. So yeah, it was good.
Okay.
It was fun. Thanks.
No, that's it for me. Good job, Aaron.
Thanks.
Alrighty, so hello, my name is Brian Best. I am a student here at UIT, and I am fantastic, and I have a beard now, which is awesome. I've never had a beard before. It's something I need to tell people about, so I'm enjoying that fact. So my professor had this quote from back in my days in Ontario. I'm going to put a luchador mask on and hit you guys with the folding chair of knowledge for what I've been doing for the past 2 weeks. So, Phased.io has been a really fun time, and I'm sure Colin's going to tell you a lot about what we're doing on the business side, but from a technology perspective, we've been doing a lot as well. So we had said that at the beginning of the week we were going to be doing a lot more of the changes. We're going to make the application be able to do a lot more things in terms of not just form building, but being able to do more stuff with getting that knowledge from the employee and having someone read that as not just a form, but kind of like a Wikipedia page. So it really turned out to be a couple of weeks of building the containers for what this stuff would look like. And last week we ended up making some new UI changes, which looks a little bit like this. Now we've got a larger area where you can actually input type fields. This whole area is editable for you to put in more headers, lots more instructions. You still have areas where you can drag and drop things that can't be put into words. So if you need a video put in there, if you need audio or posters that you want to draw from, we have a place for important docs and a place for media as well, which is, yeah, where we got a little bit with phase. We're still moving on forward in terms of the business plan as well as more things. We're trying to make these work items, which right now everyone knows as like events, we want to make them into actual objects where you can basically tell that this object has multiple different attributes. It can have the document storage place, or it can have a space where you can put forms in and have instructions. So we're really working on that, and that's the next little goal for the next while anyways. So some other things I've been doing right now is I've been doing more learnings. I've actually found a really cool piece of software that's allowed me to do some YouTube streaming, which has been really cool. So right now I'm doing a process on AM charts, which is a data visualization JavaScript library. So you can make bar graphs and pie charts and all those other fun things, which look really cool for people to see. If you guys want to know what that software is, it's open broadcast software. I originally got on this kick by wanting to use twitch.tv to stream video games. But CBU blocks the ports to stream outright from the residence, so I couldn't do anything. Yeah, everything is blocked there. You can't. No, nothing you want. You want YouTube, Netflix, fantastic, but you can't. You can stream. But so this is really good software. It's really, I won't say it's easy to use, but if you spend a little bit of time on tutorials, you maybe about 15-20 minutes, you should be able to get something down and pretty much get what I got on there. So that was cool. Other things I've been doing is I've been spending the last couple days at Hemdall building out a new product for them, which we'll be launching sometime in April. And I've been working with Rob and Matt on PizzaGo, which is stuff that will be released sooner than later. But I've been using Ionic, I've been using things like Thrift, I've been using data visualization, things like AM charts. So a lot of cool things, and when those companies decide to release, you'll see the work that I've done. So awesome stuff. Thank you very much for your time. And also, CB Transit is now free on both the iOS store and Android Google Play. So, yay.
You get everything right now. Do you have any real points of stumbling this week, or any huge eureka moments you'd like to share with us?
It's been my main stopping point for a while. It's just time management.
Yeah.
So I've been spending most of my week at one of my jobs, doing work for them. But other than that, it's really trying to come down with the right places to put my time into as CTO of Phased. So
Yeah, time management in that aspect can be a really tough thing to keep management of, right?
Yep.
You gotta be
Toggle's okay.
yeah, Toggle's been great for tracking how many hours I spend on things and how much time I'm spending on different items. But it comes down to that review process of like, am I doing something that is effective for the project, or am I just creating work for myself? Am I making minutia, or am I actually making progress on things?
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Sometimes it makes more sense to kind of take an hour out of your day and sit down and do that instead of like just blindly seeing the to-do list and just trying to attack things on it, right? So I found I've been having that issue a little more myself as well from the time management side. So being programmers, we tend to instinctually overextend ourselves an awful lot. So actually bringing yourself down to earth with that stuff is a good practice to be into.
this is true.
Almost as important as learning the code itself.
Yes.
Other than that, yeah. Good
All right.
job.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thumbs up for the beard.
Yay, beard.
Yeah, I just kind of put this together. It's not as visually appealing as Darren's and Brian's. Hi, everybody. My name's Colin. I've been doing a lot of recent work lately, and I'm going to be sharing some of that with you today. So, the topics we're going to be covering are phased I/O, UIT, and life. Right. And I'm having a little... Yeah. It's been one of those weeks, man. You know. Okay, cool. So, phased I/O. Had a one-on-one session with Gavin last week. We all did. And he kind of spoke to what we should be doing and stuff, or where we should be focusing. I told him I'm spending way too much time on the business side of things. I haven't really coded in a really long time. I did not develop a mobile app. Everybody here is really dipped into knowing what controllers are, app.js and Angular and all that, and right now that's beyond me, which made me feel really shitty. So I said, what can I do here? Like, where can I be focusing? Like, business is an important area, but if I get in the back-end development, that's like a whole new playing field. And he said, relax, go learn some front-end development. So that's our first meeting, Gavin, and journey in the front end. On the side of that, on the business side, Brian and I would decide if we would meet. So we met I picked him up at about 5 p.m. Is that on Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
This
No.
Thursday, last Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I picked him up at 5 o'clock, and we really hashed out until midnight at my place. How are we going to resolve succession planning? Like, what does it look like? Like, we know there's a problem there. We know that knowledge should be transferred, but how do you actually make that happen? I had a working demo of a video that a lot of you would have saw, but that had to do with risk assessment. How do you really transfer the knowledge? So that's where we sat down, and if you're looking at Brian's past video, which you should go check out on YouTube, you can go find that. And he kind of walks through a little bit of the interface and stuff. Yeah, then we met with CBU on Friday, and we've been meeting with CBU now for about, well, this is on month 3 now, or month 2.5. And it's been kind of frustrating because we want to close it up, but we want to make sure that they're 100% on the same page with us, and we don't want to have that big wall between us and the customer. Like, we want to be on the same playing field. So they told us that we need to vote on it before our formal purchasing process happens. We need to vote on it, and that voting session is today. Today, I don't know what time. I'm going to assume 2 o'clock. That's usually when council meetings are. So hopefully we'll hear back after that. But they said that that'll be an item on their agenda. So cross your fingers. Now, this has been kind of challenging for us because we have SaintFX is really eager to get on board with this. But as a startup and 2 members, our costs are, we got to keep them minimal. And traveling to and from Antigonish versus CBU, which is 5 minutes away, it's a lot easier on us. But we want to serve SaintFX too. So even if we don't take on SaintFX as our first customer, we are going to keep them heavily involved with testing and stuff, and they are full supporting us, which is great. And yeah, we're really hoping that we can provide a lot of benefit to CBU because they're a little bit further behind than SaintFX on their filing system. So it'll be cool to do that. That's it for phase. Let's dive into front-end development. I first went to lynda.com and I was going through a few courses, and this is all HTML, CSS heavy, and then there's some JavaScript. I have not touched on the JavaScript end yet, but it really goes in detail in each area. So first I went to lynda.com. It's great for learning, really poor for retaining. I didn't have to like do any tests or anything. They had training exercises, but you're not coding like you do in code school. So I had this code school, having the convenience of having both. Thank you, UIT. So I took the beginner courses, the intermediate, the framework. I've been just burrowing through each of these. The advanced courses are where I'm at now, which is where you're learning about SAS. And that's like a really, really like, if you want to keep your style sheets neat and get into declaring variables and all this stuff so you can just change one thing and it'll change throughout all your web pages at one time. Really, really cool. I'll show you that in a minute. So to sum up everything I've been doing, I wanted to start a project for myself outside of phase that kind of puts everything to the test. I'm going to be showing you a demo of that after I tell you a little bit more about the project. So over the summer, I was at Paddlefest and I met Michelle Richards. Michelle is the top surfer in Nova Scotia. I stumbled there because there was somebody close to her for a while. But anyway, Michelle's been making her living off surfing, and she's really cool. I met her at Paddle Fest in 2014 in September. Great time. And somebody approached her from Bedeck and said, hey, we would love if you would do paddleboarding here, but there's some issues and whatnot. So she said, well, I'm kind of busy doing my thing in St. Peter's with surfing, but let me review my list of paddleboarders I know. These are all the paddleboarders that were at Paddle Fest. So she asked, hey, would you mind doing something on the side? And I've been looking for some part-time work and what I can do, but with the hours of UIT, and I want to do the Monday, Wednesday, Friday at least, right, for UIT. So it's kind of tough to get flexible hours, but this looks like the way to go. But she said, you're going to need to buy a few boards, you're going to need to do this, do that, 10 hours a week maybe. So that's where we are now. Started looking in, we finalized on a price. I'm going to be buying 6 paddle boards, and we're going to be operating out of the Inverary Inn Resort in Bedeck.
Sweet.
Yeah. So yeah, now I'll show you a bit of the project I've been working on. So for the project, I'm going to tailor this to the paddle boarding. Just waiting for this to, there we go. Yeah, so like, okay, so like the front, I'm just going to quickly run through this because it is really helpful. Like, that you can start off with like front end foundations, formations, you get into cross country, CSS, and that's like really helpful if you want to do anything image wise in your site and make it like, instead of making image tags, use background image and a div or something. Journey in the mobile really gets into mobile design the difference between fluid, adaptive, and responsive design, and how you can make the use of those in your website and which solution works best for you. Blasting off Bootstrap, and finally assembling SAS, which I'm going through now, and the fundamentals of design, which is really, really like, it's for, I would say that's like, what's before 101? Like design, like CSS 101, it's like,
For dummies.
yeah, 001, I don't know, yeah, like, it's like really, it's cool. So, here we go. So here's what I've been working on with the combination of Bootstrap and with other things I've been learning. There's a design scheme I'm going for, the color theory, but it's what I like, but it goes completely against everything I've learned in code school. So I ripped it apart today and went back to black and white, and I'm gonna be going back to it. But you can kind of see the contact and everything and have all of this linking. So you wanna go to paddleboarding. Okay, maybe that one. Oh no, it's just being slow. Learn more. This is another issue I've been having with my computer lately. There we go. So I'm gonna do a workout in the morning, basic paddleboarding lessons, and other stuff in the afternoon. So you can click, see details, sign up, and there's this really cool thing you can use for pricing, which makes it look like that. And you can put in your details and stuff. Frequently asked questions. You can get these from like basically little snippets of code online, and then you just kind of drop them in, but they work really well. So like this. Yeah, I instead of age there before, I had like what is love, baby don't hurt me. So yeah, that is everything I have going so far.
So will you be able to book your session online?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to, when I start learning about the JavaScript, I'm gonna start to do that, but it's gonna be difficult to set it up. I would really like to set it up like that.
Actually,
Yeah.
you can just do a PayPal button in there. You don't need to know any JavaScript.
Yeah,
But you wouldn't know that that's too much.
that's the other part too. So able to put a map in.
You could throw it all into WordPress, and there are
Mhm.
plugins that you can use for free that would handle a lot of that for you.
Yeah,
Yeah, like WooCommerce and some other stuff.
yeah, cause like if they could go on and see like, hey, like this date is full or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
send that up. But this is working that it says an email to my account, which is took me a while, but yeah. Aside from that, I took a template online from just like the Bootstrap stuff we've done before. So I found a Bootstrap template, so it's just the HTML, a few other things. That's it. and has the classes done out for you. And then from there on, like, you can change things around. You can really twist and turn it the way you want it. So that's where I am. Cool.
Just get you to kind of expand upon any major eureka moments or pain points from this week.
Eureka moments was a big thing. Like, I know, like, when I'm talking CSS, it's a lot less complicated than JavaScript and stuff, but I can't even say it. Brian, can you help me out?
Specificity?
What is it?
Nobody can say that word.
Specificity. There we go. Yeah, so, like, that's the difference of, like, that was huge for me because now I know how to approach problems. Like, when I change something, like, there's 4 elements. Like, there's basically, like, a grade, like a number grade that you get that says how important is this bit of information when you're doing your CSS. So you can say my anchor link and then open curly braces and then put your rules in. But then a class has more priority over that, and an ID has more priority over a class. And then an inline code has more priority over an ID. But then if you do the exclamation point important, which is said to be a bad practice to follow, that's basically, I don't care what it is, do it, but they're tough to track in your code. So it's really interesting.
It's not necessarily a bad practice to follow. It's a practice you have to be very cognizant of when you're using it.
But it was cool today. Like, I mean, I went into a form. I was trying to get an image to show up a certain way, and you know, like, I went on to an online forum, and I actually, like, participated in the forum. People were talking to me, and I was able to go back and forth, like, to really figure out the problem, because they said, "Hey, did you try this?" And I wrote before in the question, like, this is what I did first, and then I tried doing this, and I kept increasing the score I was getting for that particular element or part of the website until it happened. But then I was even getting up to the point of putting important, and it wasn't happening. So it was kind of neat to see that, and ended up in the end, the answer was right here at UIT, and not in an online form. Rob, my love. No. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yep.
Hi guys. So last week, last Monday, I started a new app called, well, maybe not called, but about photo scavenger hunt. And that's what I've been working on for the last 2 weeks. So just a brief overview. What is it? Like, what is a photo scavenger hunt? And the way that I want to work it is kind of like you can take a picture and you can create a challenge, and then your friends or anyone can submit photos to that challenge, and they can get voted on, and you can get points or something like that. And it's kind of just like a way to explore the city or your own artistic likes and dislikes. So I love taking photos, and I love finding things that are kind of hidden gems. So I gave a couple of examples. So like this one, I would say, like, go find the tree with the most personality, or like the most character of a used bookstore, or the most badass graffiti you can find. And these are all photos from Vancouver that I took over the last couple of years. So now I will show you a quick demo. If you guys want to play around with the app, you can go onto Ionic View. If you don't have Ionic View, I totally recommend getting it. It just lets you play with Ionic on your phone for free. And this would be my code number, so if you want to play with it, go for it. And yeah, just ask me if you want it later. So I'm just gonna give a quick demo. So you'll come to a login page and you'll put in your info. It'll take you to a feed which it will have all of the photos. And then there'll also be a section for your challenges, which will have the ones you've uploaded or that have been uploaded. And you can add a challenge to your accepted list. So just by clicking this, it then saves it to the database and yeah. This takes longer than I remember. So yeah.
Debating on that last challenge. No?
Yeah. I actually did go for it. So then you can take a photo, and this was of a computer screen, which you really shouldn't do. And you can submit it to a challenge. So I chose graffiti as one of my challenges, so I can click on it, add a description. I'm so sorry, guys. And then this will all go away at some point. It's my debugging. And yeah, it's a lot. There was a lot of errors when I was doing this. And then if you go back to your home screen, you'll see that it's in there. So then people can like it or choose not to. I'm also going to show you an example of adding a challenge. So you press create instead of submit. You put the name in. Yeah, I waffled on this. Less debugging on this one. And then if you go to your challenges section, it'll be somewhere in there. It's coming. So there it is. One of the problems that I'm experiencing right now, but I think I can figure it out, is these don't get remembered. So even though it's remembered in my database, it doesn't get, the CSS doesn't stay like that. So I need to think about how that's gonna work. And then you can log out, but things are still happening here. So that brings me pretty nicely into what my next steps are. This is the CSS for the accepted challenges. Angular has like a super weird way of saving data. So one of the reasons why my videos are so, or that demo was so sketch was because I cheated and like I edited, I had to go into different things. So when I refresh, or no, when I like upload a photo, I have to log out and log back in for it to be refreshed. That I believe has something to do with scoping. I'm slowly dealing with it. So that drop-down menu that was in the submit also had that problem for a while. It's magically fixed. I believed I used like a $apply function for that. So I now need to like 100% figure out what happened there so that I can apply it to other sections of my code. And also, when you saw I logged out, it still had my username and my password there. That probably shouldn't happen. And design, I'm using like the very bare bones of Ionic still. So I spent, this isn't quite the colors that are on my computer, but I spent about 3.5 hours choosing a color scheme yesterday or the day before, and 10 minutes with it on my app. I hated it, so that is, and I even hate it right now. It's terrible, so I need to go back. It's not as bad on my computer. I can see your face.
I love
You're
the
like,
yellow. The yellow is awesome.
So more next steps. I want to make time limits for challenges so that we can define winners. And I also need to allow people to like photos. Right now, I print out the number photo. So where you saw like star 21, that was like the 21st photo. It wasn't how many likes there were.
Tricky.
Yeah. And then also to be able to print winners. More future thoughts. Customization of the challenges. So right now the overlay is dark gray with white text, which is done through CSS, and there's no border. But maybe people could customize that Right now I'm thinking the time limit I'll make like 2 days or 5 days, just so like I can keep it simple. But at some point, probably people would want to be able to say how long they want the challenge to be. Unless they make it like an hour, and so that they can win, then maybe I'll rethink that. And then also make like private and public challenges. So, like maybe you have an inside joke with your friends and you want to like just have that challenge with them. I'm gonna make all of the photos public so that it doesn't get creepy. But or we'll try to avoid being creepy. But the like participants will be able to be private. And then I haven't thought about like points. So you have like what 100 likes. Like what does that actually mean? Do you get a badge? Do you get a point? How are you dealing? So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Clearly, I still have lots to do, but it's been fun.
Good job.
I love this app.
So,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, no, I think it's a great idea as well.
I do
I think
too.
you got a
It's
lot of chances
phenomenal.
to make this thing viral.
Uh-huh.
And I like that last point you have right there on badges and points. There is a massive market out there for people buying badges and stuff like that. So, you know, maybe someone gets awarded a badge after so much, but maybe you employ some kind of a system in there where you can allow people to buy badges to give to other people. That's, there's huge money to be made and stuff like that. And it's very easy to implement, and it's
Simple too.
very repeatable. People who buy it will also buy several things, and you gotta remember you're conceptually selling them nothing.
Yeah. I think that it also has like a lot of appeal to geocachers. It's the exact same concept, only visual. And so if you're out doing some sort of adventure and there's some sort of like way of capturing what you're doing, instead of submitting, you're actually taking proof of where you've gone.
Yeah.
That could be really cool because that's 3 million plus in Canada alone.
Yeah, I was
People
thinking it would be
that
cool.
market.
Like, sorry guys. Like if you could create, that was totally fair. If you could create, like this would be something you would do yourself with the app, but like an actual scavenger hunt. So like maybe 10 things you had to go, and it would be like a road trip or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. You
But-
could, like, I could see use for it too, like with day camps and schools and tourism groups. Like if there was some way, the only suggestion I had, I loved some of the other future thoughts that you had in the features, is if you can tag a location to each photograph.
Yeah.
Because if you can say, I saw, my challenge was issued by the Cape Breton Tourism Board, and there was a $5,000 award given by the tourism board to explore Cape Breton and to find all of these things.
Yeah.
And the only requirement to entry was to tag or to have a location indicator that it came from Cape Breton.
Yeah.
That benefits them because they're actually exploring and you have proof of that exploration, and then they can tag those on all these other social media outlets. And then also you have, you know, the ability to say, this is from Vancouver.
Yeah.
Or this is my challenge in Vancouver, but I took the same challenge in Wisconsin, and
And
look
this
how
is-
different it was.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think there's an awesome appeal, and a lot of, I think it's monetizable in a lot of different ways you aren't necessarily touching on yet, but once you have the infrastructure together, it'll naturally happen.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's really
Thank you.
cool.
We chatted this week a fair amount about like the
Problems that I've had.
struggles and stuff like that.
Yeah, I have that
But
ready.
I want you to reveal one of your main. You can also talk about your struggles as well. You did. I know. The reason why I asked you not to focus because you did touch on them in your presentation as well. But I'd like to talk to you about a major like victory or economic. Tell me about something.
So that would be the photos actually. Okay, this was like tricky. So the way that we did it originally, you could like click a button and then the camera would come up and you would take a photo and the photo would then be displayed on that page that you were on. But when you do it the way that I'm trying to do it, where you like go straight to the camera on click, I don't know where that photo goes. So the solution to that was to use root scope instead of just scope, and to refresh by using $apply. Now I don't want to advise this, Rob, I figured this out yesterday, for everyone all the time, because I was trying to use $apply in another place and it said that I couldn't do it twice. So I'm not 100% sure, like, so this was like a very good fix for the problem that I had once. So if it's not repeatable, like, I don't know whether there should probably be another or a better way. But yeah, getting those photos like to print as well as save them up to the database was pretty sweet, which was also really tricky. Rob helped me a lot with it, because it was really hard and it didn't make a lot of sense while we were doing it. But yeah, there was like a lot of weird stuff with parameters. And thank you.
No, no problem.
It's a complicated app, is it not? Well,
What I have right now?
it seems
It's
like
not
from
too
a
complicated.
functionality perspective, it seems like there's a lot going
Any
on.
app you do that isn't Hello World is gonna have some complicated aspects to it. So don't ever downplay your apps because you think they're not complex enough, because it's the least complex apps that make the most money.
Angry Birds.
Yeah, Angry Birds.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
that
and
was a good job.
thank you.
There you go.
This is from Rob.
You're live.
Okay, I actually have kind of a lot to share this week because last week Danielle and Mark and I went to Halifax to do the business competition, and that was a really cool experience and it all went really well. But the theme of my presentation today will be communication. And years ago, I went with a friend of mine to see the movie Cheaper by the Dozen, and it was just like pure chaos in the movie. And she turned to me and she's like, "That's so far-fetched." And I was like, "You're so wrong. And you came from a family of 4, and I came from a family of 7, and that's a family of 14. And I knew that, like, from a family of 4, she didn't understand just how complex the dynamic is when you're dealing with people. So I drew that out today to kind of show, like, with every person you add and everything you learn, things become more complex in one way, but it can make like a stronger structure. But it's like learning code. We're learning so much, and then like Darren said, you're learning it pieces at a time, but you want to try to understand it as a whole. So I thought like I tie everything back to family because it means a lot to me, but that was important to me. And like Colin said, he was kind of beating himself up for not having coded, but he and Brian are working as a partnership, so both skills are valued. So you kind of have to have faith in what you're doing and what direction you're going to, and be open to working with people because you can't do it all alone. And the cool thing I found about working with technology is the open source community, and it's not about hoarding information because you might be delving into something that you think you're onto something, you put hours and hours in, and then you tell someone and it's like, well, it already exists. So sharing and being open is more valuable. And as difficult as it is, sometimes you have to be patient with people, and it's harder to work with people. If you pick the right people, it will work to your advantage. And that was another interesting thing I found about the pitch competition. There were 30 of us who presented, or 30 different groups that presented, and there was only one winner and only 6 advanced. And that wasn't to say that one was better than the other. We were all, I'll go to this one first. We were all competing based on the business model canvas. So that was kind of an example of sometimes you have to adhere to a rule, and maybe it's not to better your company. Like if you present it better on the business model canvas, that doesn't mean you have a better business, but you should know going into the competition that's what you're presenting for the money. But don't feel discouraged if you didn't win. It doesn't mean you have a loser idea. It just means that of the 30 teams, someone else won, and there were a lot of great ideas that didn't advance. So that's just kind of a good example of putting yourself out there and accepting what you perceive as a failure or not. Like I didn't feel like we failed. We didn't win the money. So I don't think that's going to stop DocMaster from moving forward. And my app isn't physically built yet, but with Rob's help, I got a lot of help with Beautiful, and that's a concept I'm happy with because that's something I've been working on is my attitude and moving forward. And I think that's something I can share with people. So I put my idea into a business model canvas because I didn't really acknowledge that concept until I did the presentation with Danielle and Mark. So then I was able to do that, and that helped because it tied into the entrepreneurship class. But what I think is the most value proposition is self-actualization and letting go of the ego and knowing that we're not here to do it alone. We can work together, and that's kind of what the internet reflects. And my coding skills have come a long way because this is actually built, and I built it through all of this mess. So that's kind of like the same idea of like a connection to the family, and it can come together. So not everything like on the surface is quite as it seems. It can be like a mumbo jumbo mess, but if you keep at it, you can get there. And that's just my personal desires and gratitude and challenge, different things that I face. And I'll show you my app that it works because I'm pretty happy with it. So I go into, no, I can't find it, a simulator, okay. So I can post. But there's still kinks to work out because if you see it didn't load right away, but if I go into my iTerm, and reload it, it should come back. So it came back. So I'm happy with that. So there's lots to still work out with it, but I'm happy with my app and I'm happy to see it being built, and I'm getting excited. I'm feeling a lot better about code, and I know that like I can still succeed if I'm not the best coder because there's people who like, I'm just trusting that the holes will fill themselves in as long as I go. So I hope the same for everyone. And thank you.
It seems like such a complicated problem.
Which one?
Like, if you're posting when you're in like kind of like play mode there or whatever, but it's saving it, and then when you reload it.
Yeah, we're
it seems
gonna
complicated.
figure out how to dynamically load that.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine doesn't
Yeah.
dynamically load either.
It's just in something small. Wait, step away, Faye. I got a question. Sorry. I'm gonna ask you the same question I asked everyone else. So your favorite Eureka moment this week and your biggest challenge or frustration this week, whether you accomplished it or not. Or beat it or not, I guess.
Well, I came further to, like, my app is more functioning and I'm seeing it come together. So just generally feeling better about that. And having had the opportunity to work with Danielle and Mark was really cool because it was just one of those unexpected things that sometimes bad things happen out of nowhere, but sometimes good things do too. Like, you don't always have to be like, I don't know, things aren't always perfectly planned and they can work in your favor. And it was just a really nice experience overall. So I'm still happy from that, with that.
Yeah, and she killed it, by the way. Like, we had to do a 10-minute talk,
Is there-
memorized on the business model canvas, and Faye got up there and just drove it home. So it was really, really awesome.
Yeah,
And we really appreciated it.
it was pretty exciting. So,
Very
thank
good.
you.